Legal Live is brought to you by Farah and Farah.
The comments and opinions expressed on this radio program do not constitute legal advice and do not create an attorney-client relationship. If you have a legal problem, a formal consultation will be required outside of this radio program.
This is Legal Live with Eddie and Chuck Farah. They're talking the latest legal news and answering your questions. To call Legal Live and ask Eddie and Chuck a question, grab your phone and dial 855-765-1045. That's 855-765-1045.
Welcome. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Feel free to give us a call today. We love hearing from you guys. Our number is 855-765-1045. I'm Shafalika, and I'm joined today by Eddie and Chuck Farah. How's it going, guys? Happy Saturday.
Thanks a lot, Shafalika.
Hey, Shafalika.
Hey.
Yeah, I tell you, it's already the end of the year. They're flying by, you know.
I know.
And, especially when you get my age, they fly by real fast. I'll tell you, I was just thinking today, this is probably, what, 15th year of our show? Maybe 20. I don't know, maybe 20. I don't know.
Wow.
We've been really at it for a long, probably close to 20 years. Yeah. I don't know.
That's probably 1,000 episodes.
Yeah, it's a lot, but we love doing it. And it's all about you because we want to know your questions. That's our priority. We got stuff to talk about, stuff that we find interesting, stuff that may help you, stuff that you could use, law that you can use. And but again, your concerns, your questions are our priority. If we cannot answer it, because we're basically PI lawyers, but we've been around a long time and we know people who can get you answers. And again, I go back to the Jacksonville Bar Association, that organization here in town where lawyers donate their time. At $50 a half hour, you can talk to an expert in the field who can help answer your question. Just contact the Jax Bar. You can do it online, and they will find you an attorney to help you out if we cannot do it. And sometimes sometimes, again, our knowledge is limited in other areas of the law. You may be better off, if we don't know it, go to those guys and find out so they can help you out. But
you guys usually have some pretty good feedback, at least for... Even if it's a different area of law that you guys serve, you guys usually have some good answers.
Yeah, we can get them going. We can direct them. We can put them in the right direction.
Right.
That's kind of it. But
absolutely.
I don't know.
I see you've
maybe
got
we
a
have
bunch
a basic knowledge, but for the details, you need an expert.
Right. Gotcha.
Well, okay. Well, interesting case I want to talk about was, what happens if someone files a false criminal report? And you get arrested. Okay, the judge drops the case or the state attorney drops the case. But what happens? What are your civil? Listen, you put in jail. You had to hire a lawyer. You had to go through all that. What can you do about it? Well, the law, listen, if there's a wrong, and almost 99% of the time, the law has a solution. The system has an answer, a way for you to be compensated. And it's an interesting case that happened. It was a bank robbery. There was a bank robber who was. This is a Florida case. The bank robber. I don't think it was in Jacksonville, but let's see if I can find out what county it was in. Don't really know, but it was. Let me see where it was. It doesn't make a difference. It's a Florida case. So anyway, the bank teller. She's on the lookout. There's a bank robber in the neighborhood or something. So a person comes into the bank who is looking like the bank robber. And she thinks it's the robber. He's got the same clothes and all that and some of the features. So she hits the silent alarm.
Oh.
Okay. The police rush in. Of course, the police come. They find the customer who is not the bank robber. They handcuff him, throw him on the floor. The bank teller doesn't say anything to the police that, hey, I got the wrong guy, or she doesn't say anything. So they, in the process of putting the customer on the ground and handcuff him, they kick him in the head.
Oh my gosh!
This is not the bank robber, okay?
Yeah,
it's
they
just a
didn't know
customer
that.
at the bank.
Yeah.
He's seriously injured, okay? So he wants to file a malicious, a false report of criminal behavior against the bank. because they just jumped to a conclusion and
Yeah, they jumped to a conclusion, then they jumped him.
Yeah.
And basically, hurt
This
him.
person's injured. So what happened was the court ruled that if you know or should know, or you are completely reckless in reporting a criminal behavior, or you do it intentionally, or you're not being diligent, and you kind of know something's not correct. You know it's not correct, but you file the report anyway. You can be civilly sued for that. And so you can make a claim against the bank, in this particular case it was the bank, for reporting this criminal situation against you, which you were not involved in, and they should have known were not involved in. So that case was allowed to proceed, and I'm assuming there was a settlement. There was another case dealing with a nurse at a nursing home, and the people who owned the nursing home were accusing her of tampering and stealing prescription drugs at an assisted living facility where she worked. Okay, so they call the police. They have her arrested, and what they didn't look at was she was not the only person that had access to the drug cabinet. They just assumed she did it. They drug screened her. They didn't drug screen other employees. And there were other employees, of course, that had access, who had really a checkered past more than she did. They didn't conduct a thorough investigation. They had her arrested. They told the police officer, we think she was stealing drugs from another assisted living facility, which was not true. So she ends up getting arrested. And she has to go through that whole process. She probably lost her license. There was a process of losing her license. She's exonerated. Well, the court said she could file a lawsuit against the nursing home that falsely accused her of committing this crime. And I think that's a great law. That keeps people in check. That makes employers, and that stops people from just going down, filing a criminal complaint, because you can be subject to civil liability and damages if you do that. I think that's a great law, and you don't hear about it too often. You don't hear of people but there are cases now and then that I read about where people are falsely accused of criminal activity.
Well, the opposite, position on that is it's not a great law, because now people are going to be hesitant about trying to look out for crime and report crime, because they think if they're not sure, now they're sticking their neck out there for civil liability. So that's the opposite.
Well, let me tell you what the law says. Here's the standard.
Yeah, what is the standard? That's what it comes down to.
You act in gross or flagrant disregard of the facts.
That's a good law.
I mean, it's not like, I made an innocent mistake.
Gross and flagrant
you gotta be. It's almost
that's a high standard.
You got to be reckless.
Yeah.
Like I basically know this person's really innocent. I'm gonna do
it has to somehow show some kind of bias on your part that you're just singling out.
Yeah, you're
this
grossly.
person.
You're just without any regard to what the facts are and what's actually going on. You're reporting this person.
Right.
I don't like the color of your shirt. I'm reporting you because
it's
I
green.
think you
what
may
you
be
got
doing.
against green?
No,
no,
that's Farah green.
That's an offensive green.
That's Farah green. We're
right.
green. That's our color.
It is. I know where I work. All right. Well, gentlemen, this is really fascinating. We do have some callers on the line, and I'm excited to get to them when we come back. You're listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We'll be right back after this quick break. Hey, welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We'd love to hear from you, so give us a call if you like, 855-765-1045. I'm Shafalik, and I'm joined by Eddie and Chuck. So, gentlemen, we do have a caller on the line. You want to jump right in?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. All right. Robert from Jacksonville, you got a question about LLCs. What's going on, Robert?
Well, I was curious as to, we have a restoration of an antiquity that took several years by a fellow who at the time was a registered LLC. And my question is, 6 months after the completion of the project, we started having issues, and several of the products that were used in the restoration of the antiquity their representatives have all come and viewed it and said that it's the negligence of the actual restoration and application of the product. But my question is, if you win a suit against an LLC,
Right.
what is to keep them from claiming bankruptcy and saying that we have no assets? Because I know you're limited as to what assets you can attach in an LLC, correct?
Right. That's why people do LLCs, for protection from liability. I think what you're limited to are the assets of the LLC. And if the LLC hasn't, he don't even need to file bankruptcy because there's nothing you can get. I mean, he could just disband the LLC. But you know what? I'm not a collections guy. There's ways around that because, you know, if the LLC has not been run like an LLC, if they just file the LLC and they're not following the law in terms of maintaining the LLC, how should be maintained, you may be able to get through that and get to him personally. But
well, and
go ahead.
Well, and that leads to my second question. Is I did a search on his LLC license, and he maintained it for 75% of the restoration project. The last quarter, he dissolved his LLC. Does that make a difference?
Yeah, that would make it. That could hold him up personally responsible for it.
Even though it was the process was initiated when he was an LLC?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a collections guy, but there are ways. Everybody thinks, oh, LLC, I'm home free. No, you're not. You can pierce the LLC to get to the individual in certain circumstances. Generally, the LLC does provide you protection. You're limited to the asset of the LLC. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not a collections guy. I mean, I have to know more facts. What you could do, like I said, I mean, I know a collections guy here in town. I mean, you could maybe talk to him or talk to, like I said, avail yourself of the Jack's Bar Association. For $50, you can talk to a collections lawyer for a half hour, and maybe he can give you some direction. But, I mean,
Yes,
does
sir.
the LLC itself have any assets, or is it just him?
Well, I guess it's just I don't know enough to move beyond his LLC and his personal assets. I guess that I did a search on. Like I say, I don't know what other avenues to search to see exactly what assets the quote unquote LLC, because his workshop and all is part of his house. So.
Well, yeah. He could have receivables and things like
that's
that.
gonna be but
yeah, I mean,
when it's an individual, it can be difficult.
Yeah.
And if the LLC owns a building and he's in that building, then you got something to go with. But if he's working out of his house, I don't know. You never know what people have, but if he's working out of his house, you know.
Well, the building he's working out is part of his house, or part of his property at his house. So,
and if it's homesteaded, you can't touch that. I don't know what the zoning is there that allows him to do that, but. I mean, does he lose his homestead if he's running a business out of it? I doubt it. You know, I mean, if it's on his homestead, you can't touch it.
Right.
I mean, you're in Florida has one of the most protective homestead laws in the country.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so I don't know what to tell you. I think you need to get some legal advice from somebody who does that type of work.
Yes, sir.
You don't want to spend good money after, you don't want to spend good money after bad, but I'd start with the Jack's Bar, spend $50 and see what your options are before you go pay a guy thousands of dollars, because no lawyer is going to handle this case on a contingency. He's going to want money up front. He's going to charge you by the hour, and you're going to get a monthly bill every month he does work on it, and there's no guarantee
Correct.
you're going to get your money. Now, you could file it on your own. You could go do it. You could go to the clerk. So how much money are you talking about?
Well, the total process was in the six figures, and to repair what he's done is going to be well into the five figures. Probably at least half of what we spent originally.
And that's circuit court. You're not going to be in you're not going to be in county court. So you're going to be in the big court.
Does he work under that LLC? I mean, is he a well-known in what he does? I mean,
yes.
So he's got maybe it's like I said,
he's marketed his business based off of multimillionaires and a billionaire as far as work that he's performed for them.
Yeah.
Does he? Okay.
So he markets it under the LLC. If everything's flowing through there, he could have receivables. You don't know. He could be in the middle of, work, and So that's
but
an
you
asset.
Can take a deposition, and he
Oh,
goes
yeah,
to,
there's a
he
lot
goes
of
to
work
the customer.
involved.
Don't pay me now, and I don't have any more. But yeah, but, have you talked to him about it? Is he not willing to make it right, or?
Well, yes, I've conversed with him, and he's telling me that he can't afford to redo the whole project.
Yeah.
And the inference was that it was going to cost me more money to do it, to have him fix it.
Yeah. So he doesn't. I mean, that's what he's claiming. I don't know. I would start with Jack Spar. I don't know. I mean, even if you put pressure on him, and even if you win, I guess you could sue him. I mean, it wouldn't cost much for you to file the lawsuit. It'd be just a breach of contract, a simple case. You could maybe get a lawyer to help you do it. You could get a judgment and record. A lot of people, what they do, even if the person doesn't have money, they file a lawsuit. They get the judgment, and the judgment's recorded at the courthouse. It's then a lien against everything he owns. He tries to apply for credit. That judgment's going to come up, and that bank is going to go make him do something to clear up the credit, or he won't get credit, or maybe he doesn't care about credit. But and that it collects interest. The judgment collects interest every year, and with that judgment, you have power to go seize property of the LLC. I mean, if the LLC owns a car or a truck or something, you can have it picked up. But if you want to get past the LLC, you want to get to him personally. That's how you're going to get paid.
Right. All right. Well, I'll try the Jack Spar route then.
Yeah. Sorry.
I've got that phone number for you, Robert, for the Jack Spar Association, if you're ready.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a
okay. Yeah.
pencil, but I can look it up online. I assume.
Yes,
there
sir.
you go.
Thanks.
No problem.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
I have a question. Chuck, you mentioned returnables or
receivables.
Well, yeah, like
receivables. What does that mean?
Well, the guy if he's got a bunch of receivables out there, he may not want to file bankruptcy.
Oh, I see.
Because that could be an asset that gets lost.
Yeah, but what would stop him from just forming another LLC and another new business and all that? I mean, these people. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, that's what happens. I mean,
sounds like a slippery situation.
And it's $50,000. It's a lot of money. It's 5 figures. So,
wow.
Yeah, because the easy way out would file bankruptcy, wipe everything out, and move on to another company. Move on under a different name.
That doesn't seem right, but wow, learning something new every day over here on Legal Live. You're listening to 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We're about to take a quick break, but we'll be right back, and we'd love to hear from you, so give us a call at 855-765-1045. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Feel free to give us a call at 855-765-1045. I'm Shafalika, and I'm joined today by Eddie and Chuck Farah. I've got a question. We had a caller that just recently came in, and unfortunately the call dropped, but they were calling about Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
And I know you guys carry a lot of those cases.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of Camp Lejeune cases, and they're going to be filed in North Carolina, where Camp Lejeune was located. They're going to be handled in federal court. But what the new law does, it really brought to life cases that were long gone, because there's a thing called the statute of limitations, which we all know about, which you got to file a lawsuit within a certain period of time.
Right.
And by the time that the government came clean and said, yes, we knew this water was contaminated,
That
it was
people were
causing
sick.
people injuries,
Yeah.
people were getting sick from it, the statute had long run. So President Biden signed a new law into effect that revived these cases. And from the date, I think it was passed in, I don't have it, from April or May of this year. It's 2 years from that point that you've got to file your lawsuit. So
I see.
So they're revived. If you were at Camp Lejeune during from 53 to 87,
Right.
and you have one of the illnesses, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, even if you were not in the military, maybe you lived there, maybe you were the spouse, maybe you work there, maybe you were born there and there's a birth defect involved.
Right, or you're infertile now, or
right,
something like
or something.
that.
So you have a possible claim against the federal government. And a lot of people are concerned about their VA benefits. They're not going to stop your VA benefits for filing a claim, and it'll be handled in federal court. It's not like a class action because everybody has their own individual claim.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and it's not a class
Okay.
action. You will have a chance you have to go through an administrative process first where you file your claim. If you're not satisfied with what the administrative process gives you, then you have a right to file a lawsuit within a certain period of time. I think it's 6 months. So you do have a way to have to resolve your claim.
Right.
Before even filing a lawsuit. So it's a great thing that was done. A lot of people were injured there, and if you have any questions, you can call our office at 396-5555. We are involved in these cases, and we're glad that these people who are injured now finally get a chance of getting compensated for it.
Yeah.
That's a long time coming, really.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, look at all the
and-
people who passed away and gone and not going to see any of that money. But
Wow.
at least the people that are around will have a chance.
So the idea is if you lived on Camp Lejeune or you drank the water there essentially for
Yeah.
at least, you lived there for at least 30 days,
Right.
right? From August of 1953
Well,
to
everybody there was
December.
drinking the water. I don't think you had much of a
87.
choice. Yeah.
So you are
Right.
bathing it, brushing your teeth.
Yeah, you're
Brushing your teeth, shower.
Yeah,
Oh, you're
shower.
there.
My
mean-
goodness. So, like, some of these illnesses, I was going through the list, and they are really severe. From, Parkinson's to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Yes.
cancers of all kinds,
Right.
infertility, birth defects. I
Yep.
mean, this is some serious stuff.
The
It's
good thing-
life-changing.
The good thing about this law also is that it lowers the burden of connecting the illness to the water. Because a lot of times when you get involved in these lawsuits, like I remember when we were handling the Vioxx cases that were giving people heart attacks, the drug companies were arguing, well, the drug didn't cause a heart attack. This person was either overweight or he was
Other contributing
had
factors.
other contributing factors. Don't blame it on
Oh.
us. You can't blame it on Vioxx. He had these other factors, and so how do we know the heart attack came from that? And so that was a burden to overcome. It was,
Yeah.
a lot of times it was difficult. But what the government has done in this case, or what the law says, is that the burden has been lowered. If you show that you've lived there and you've followed all that, and you have this illness,
Yeah.
the burden is very low to connect the illness to the water. So
Right.
it's a
You
good
just
thing.
have to have one of these illnesses.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, because the science already proved that the water contamination with
Yes.
like benzene and
Benzene.
whatnot,
Yeah.
that was tied to these different.
Oh yeah, the science backs the linkage
Uh-huh.
between. That's why
we know benzene exposure to benzene causes this type of cancer. So,
Right. Absolutely. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I can only imagine how far spread out all these potential
there are
claims may be all
hundreds of
across.
thousands of them. I mean, you think of
Hundreds
the
of
number of people who were
thousands.
at Camp Lejeune during that period of time.
Yeah, because you can be a
Probably a
civilian.
million.
I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have to be in the military. You can
Yeah.
have been a family member who was there with the military
Mhm.
person. I mean, anybody who was living there has a claim, a right to
My
a claim.
goodness. And that's 30 years of time to spend. Well,
Anyway,
I know you guys handle hundreds of those cases locally,
we got
and
a
we
lot
had a
of 'em,
call.
yeah.
Yeah.
but
well-
yeah, we're working hard on them. It's a lot of work, but we're enjoying it right now,
Yeah.
helping these people out. Okay, so what I want to talk about are these automatic contract renewals that you get. They just kind of automatically renew.
Mm-hmm.
That was always been one of my. You forget. I mean, you get into these, you sign this agreement, and it's automatic renews, and
Yeah.
you get out of it, and it's too late. But Florida has passed a law that gives you some relief on these automatic renewal provisions, but so you get a chance to cancel them.
Yeah.
But now and
Are you talking about like cell phone bills or like
everything.
I'm
Just
thinking
it
Netflix?
could be
for
health
some reason?
clubs.
Yeah,
you know,
health clubs.
your
gyms and okay.
your security company.
Gotcha.
All
yeah.
those contracts that you sign, and they just keep auto renewing. But now there's a law in Florida that requires the vendors are required to provide written or electronic notification of automatic renewal provisions not less than 30 days and not more than 60 days before the cancellation deadline.
Wow.
That way you can just say, hey, you get an email, oh, I want to cancel my subscription.
Right.
So it doesn't auto renew.
Right.
But the problem is this law. I mean, they passed this law. It sounds like good. It's a nice consumer-friendly law. But then you look at all the exceptions of the people who don't have to comply with it.
Oh,
You know?
no.
The only one I'm thinking back. The only thing that I can see that complies or that you could really that it helps are maybe like a security company, those that monitors your house, because the exceptions to the law are financial institutions, which means if you have an automatic renewal from a financial institution, they don't have to notify you. Health studios, those are the ones I used to get in. You sign up health club and it just auto renews. You can't get out of the contract. They don't have to notify you. Gyms, insurance entities, or electronic entities like electric companies do not have to notify you.
That's almost everybody.
It's almost everybody.
Wait a minute. That's the opposite
the
of what
only one I can think of left are these security companies. But
wow.
anyway, it's at least it's a start. But they
Sneaky,
really
sneaky.
didn't. I get rope-a-doped into all those all the time.
Rope-a-dope to all of those. I feel you.
Anyway, I wish it was more expansive because people forget what they signed or when it renews. Who can remember all that?
That's a
Yeah.
growing concern for a lot of people that I know, is that all these subscriptions were
they auto
applied
renew.
to, especially during COVID. We all just kind of, especially with online entertainment, we just subscribe to everything,
and it just
now
auto-renews.
it's just eating up money.
Yeah, every
Yep.
month you get these bills, you forget about them.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely. That's interesting. Well, we've got a quick break coming
Okay,
up,
sure.
and so I think we should come right back and maybe discuss some new issues.
Okay.
We're having a lovely day here at the studios at WOKV, and you're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah. Feel free to give us a call. We've got some time the rest of the show. Our number is 855-765-1045. We always love hearing from you guys. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm your host, Shafalika, and I'm joined today by your experts, the hosts with the most,
Hello.
Eddie and Chuck Farah.
Yeah.
We've got about 10 minutes left in this
Okay.
show, so let's wrap it up with
Okay,
something real cool.
I got a couple things to talk about. Robert called earlier about the LLC and trying to get money from him individually.
Right.
Garnishments. Somebody owes you, somebody owes you some money. Can you garnish their wages? Well, under the law in the state, Florida has some really consumer friendly laws.
That's
when
right,
it
we
comes-
do.
You got your homestead exemption. I'll let people remember there was the commissioner of baseball, Bowie Kuhn. He was a commissioner way back when. He was living in New York. He was having some financial issues. He cashed out his place up there and came and bought a big house in Marsh Landing, and he put all his money in his house. And nobody could touch it. I mean,
Nobody
it was
could
like a
touch it?
multi-million
Oh,
dollar
no.
house because it's homestead. But anyway,
Wow.
when it comes to garnishing wages, when someone wants to garnish your wages at work, Florida has a head of household exception, which means they cannot garnish your wages under certain circumstances. So a person who is providing more than half of the support for a child or other dependent, which means if you got a child or a spouse or maybe a parent that you're helping out, so if you provide more than half of their support and you're bearing some additional responsibilities, your wages cannot be garnished.
Wow.
Now, once you put that money in the bank, they can go after it. But in terms of them taking the money directly out of your check, if you fit within that exception, that you're providing half of the support for a child or a dependent, they cannot garnish your wages. So,
Wow.
and there's a document. If your employer tries to garnish your wages, your employer will notify you of that, and there's some action you need to take within a certain period of time to stop it from happening.
I see.
So anyway,
That's good to know,
yeah,
actually.
you got to know. And if you want to call our office, here it is. Okay, you have 20 days. Hold on, you can find yourself through a great garnishment. Oh, wait a minute. They can. Yeah, you can even stop them from getting it from your bank. Let me see. I'm trying to figure this out because I'm not a collections guy, but I thought it was interesting. Anyway, you have 20 days to file your claim of head of household. So you have to, and you got to mail a copy of that. You get file an affidavit that you're head of household. You're providing support for more than 50% support for a child or a dependent.
Right.
You file that document with the court. You send it to the lawyer. So, and then you'll be able to stop the garnishment. If you don't file the affidavit within 20 days, you lose. They're going to garnish your wages.
Wow.
So, anyway,
That's really interesting.
Yes.
I like that. And I think a lot of people like certain protections in Florida. And, looks like we actually
but the thing about it is, here is the thing. You're an employee. You're getting a W-2. I don't think that head of household works if you're a 1099. If you're like a independent, let's say you're doing landscaping work and you don't, they just pay you money and you don't get, they're not taking taxes out of your check. And so I don't know. I mean, that may be, you may not have that protection if you're a 1099 employee. You got
That's
a phone
interesting.
call I'm going to jump on?
Yeah, we do,
All right, because I
actually.
had something else to talk about, but that's okay. We'll get to it later. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we've got Brian on the line from Jacksonville. Looks like you had a slip and fall at a pool resort. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Brian.
Good. How are you?
So, just a little backstory. My wife and I were staying last month at a Holiday Inn resort because we're club vacation members, and it was in I want to say it was in Port Canaveral, the resort there, and they have a water park. And what happened was, most of the area at the water park is concrete, but before you can get into the pool, they have an epoxy coating on the kind of like the outer limits, and I didn't have any sandals on, but there was no signs, and I stepped on it with wet feet, and I slipped. I mean, I slipped hard, and I fell, and I took pictures of what happened to my knee. But when I got up, I was kind of embarrassed, and then other people that were laying in the lawn chair, in the chairs, they was like, "Yeah, I did that last week."
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah. So I don't know if it's even worth, talking about. I was just had a question if there's even a reason to go further with this.
How are you feeling now?
Well, my left knee is recovered, but my right knee is it's sore.
Okay. Have you gotten any medical treatment?
No, I didn't, and that's kind of like the question was like, how do I proceed with this?
Okay. So first of all, did you report it to the hotel?
Yes, I did. That was
Okay.
the first thing I did.
All right. You reported to the hotel. Okay. You have two parts to your case. The first part is the hotel responsible. The second part of your case is, do I have an injury? Okay. So you got to have both. I mean, just because they did something wrong, okay, they did something wrong, but what's my injury? I mean, if somebody rear ends me and I'm not injured, I mean, I don't have a case. I mean, maybe they got to fix my car, but I don't have an injury. So you got to have, and if the longer you wait to receive medical treatment, even if you're hurting, they're going to argue that, wait a minute, how do we even know this happened from the fall? This guy waited 2 months to go see the doctor. He could have fallen in his garage. He's trying to blame it on us. That's the argument you're going to hear from these guys.
Got it.
Okay? So you really have to, and they're going to also argue that, he waited, how badly could he really be hurt? I mean, he waited 2 months to go see the doctor. I mean, I can see some people wait a day or two because they think they're going to, you know how it is. It's like when you have a cold, you don't go to the doctor immediately. You kind of wait a few days for it to go away. And if it doesn't, you go to the doctor. So that's the argument you're going to have. That's what affects the value of your case. If you haven't gotten treatment for like 2 or 3 months or whatever it is, that affects the value because they're going to argue you were not injured. Yeah, maybe we're wrong. Maybe it was a dangerous condition, or your claim has no value because you're not hurt.
Well, unfortunately,
what?
I get my medical care through the VA, so they don't have like an urgent care.
Yeah, but
So I have to
the
schedule.
best advice is to get checked out right now.
Okay.
And
you have a VA doctor. I mean, you could have gone to a primary. You could have gone to and there's other ways to get. Listen, they're not gonna buy that argument. There's doctors everywhere. There's these clinics you can walk into. That's how that's the game these guys play. They always try to blame the injured person. You have you have a duty to make yourself get better. You didn't do anything. Now you want to hold us responsible. So that's the argument you're going to hear from these guys. Okay.
All right. I thank you for advice.
No problem.
For your advice.
Yeah. Good luck. I mean, I'll tell you, that's the thing about slip and fall cases. He brings up a good point. Brian does. you're kind of embarrassed. You know, you fall. I mean, people shouldn't fall. You're walking. People, I'll tell you, these slip and fall cases, sometimes people don't even report them because they're just embarrassed they fell. They kind of think it's their fault. But 9 times out of 10, it ain't your fault.
Right. You
I mean,
slipped
look at
for
this.
a reason,
I
especially by
guarantee
the
you,
pool.
this epoxy was, whoever installed it was not the type of epoxy to be used by a swimming pool.
That's a
You
good
know?
point.
What we do is we'll bring in, like when we take on cases like this, we'll hire an expert who'll go and perform what they call a friction test, a coefficient of friction test. And they'll put water or sand or whatever the substance is that caused the fall onto the surface of the floor. And if it fails the friction test, that means it was below the standard of care, you know,
Right.
and that gives you a basis to, you know,
To say it
to say
does cause falls.
that they were negligent. They should have put a different type of flooring there.
Right.
Because in his situation, he's by the water. They're going to say, well, this is just a natural occurrence. You know, you're by the water at the resort. And,
He mentioned
know.
some other patron mentioned that they had
I'll tell
just
you,
fell.
And a lot of times, when you get into a lawsuit, you can subpoena all the past situations where people have fallen,
and reported it.
and you'll find out a lot of times you'll see other people have fallen there and gotten injured. So I mean, that's why that's what we typically do, and that's how we handle it. But that's why people we do a commercial and we tell people you got to seek injury after an accident.
Yeah.
I know everybody's, well, I got 4 years to file my lawsuit. Yeah, but you got to be proactive.
Yeah.
And go see a doctor and make sure that you're been checked out.
So the best advice is to go see a doctor now and get that knee checked out, get both of them checked out.
Yeah.
And then maybe address from there.
Yeah,
move
yeah, well,
forward,
yeah.
see
I mean,
how
I
bad
think
it
he
is.
needs to make sure he's okay physically first.
Right.
But he put him on. He did the right thing. Some people don't even notify the business owner.
Right.
They don't even tell them, and that's
Shoot.
But hopefully there's a video or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they probably do have cameras up
Yeah.
by the pool.
But it's been
Well-
a couple of months. I wonder if that video's still around.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Brian and Robert, for giving us a call today. We appreciate talking to you guys. You guys bring up some good points. Thank you for listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We'll be back again for another episode next week. You guys have a lovely day.